Hello and welcome to The Wise Why. This morning I am joined by a really good friend, and I love this about the show. I get to invite my mates on, and today is Paul Anderson's turn in the hot seat. And I've known Paul since about 2014, where we met when I was looking for a solution for my customer. And do you know, at that point, this technology did not exist. So, as usual, the show is not about me, it is about my guest. So, Paul, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, good morning, Kirsty. And look, thanks for getting me on this show. I know you've been dying to get me on here for quite a while, so you've managed to just wrench me onto here. But no, I really appreciate it. I've been working in security since '93. I've done loads of things in the past: centralised security for Enron, worked for Home Office, Bank of England, Foreign Office. Been in the industry for years. My passion is trying to do it right because everyone does it wrong. I can expand on that maybe a bit later. So
awesome. But you didn't start in security, did you? I mean, this is the thing we know, and I love this. So a lot of people who watch the show are from the security industry, but the people who aren't, can you explain what the security industry is?
what the security industry is? Well, that's a big question. Yeah, that's a multi-layered question.
I know.
So probably I'll take you back a little bit, Kirsty. So I mean, you brought up there where I sort of started from. So I was in retail since I was 13, delivering papers. Then I worked for the Co-op group when I was 15. At 18, I was the department manager for the Co-op. At 20, I was the store manager for the Co-op. 21, I helped implement the EPOS system that was bringing out the new technology into these supermarkets for the Co-op. And working in these sort of rough stores, you realise that you've got a few things to look after, staff for one, but your stock and things go out the door. So people nicking things. The CCTV systems weren't adequate enough. So hence why I reviewed security. The security guards weren't trained. They didn't have enough training, didn't know how to handle themselves, didn't know how to handle people. So again, that made me understand security is a very big part of what we do. And in '93, I was still working for the Co-op. I basically started a little company up doing security. Bought an intruder alarm, stuck it in my house. I thought that's easy. Did some friends and family. I then sort of worked for Barclays Bank in Reading, put a little system in for them. Trocadero did access control, CCTV, intercom, and this was all part-time while I was working in retail. So that's how I got into the security industry. To recap what you said, what is the security industry? It's about protecting assets, whether that's people, whether that's, physical assets in your building. How do we protect that? IT as well as part of that. And that's what I do, is not just look at one aspect of security. It's about how people use technology, how they operate things, how the business works, how the physical building is, how the IT infrastructure is, and how we can make everything safe. In a nutshell, sort of thing.
Brilliant. No, that was brilliant, because when you hear the word security, you do, and it's different when you're in industry, but when you're out of industry, you think of security and you think of maybe a camera on a wall. You don't necessarily think that your fire alarm or your burglar alarm is connected to that. You don't necessarily think, you just might just go to a online retailer and pick up some wireless cameras and you whack them up, but you don't know if they're really going to work or how the solution works. And it's just interesting to share, actually, security isn't just what you see. It is a lot more from what you don't see. And for instance, the project we were working on was ANPR, automatic number plate recognition. I haven't said that for a long time. And at that point in 2014, that technology did not exist.
It was an early technology, been around for quite a few years, but I think what the biggest drive that I have is understanding businesses, understanding their operational needs. A lot of people go into look at review security, but don't look at how the business works and how things come together. And I think when we sat down in a meeting, it was a simple question for me: what are you trying to achieve? And once you understand that, you can then just deliver what you need to do. And I think I turned around in that meeting and gave them a proof of concept within about 5 minutes. Just bringing the camera they had that didn't work into a laptop, which was running the software, and just showed them it actually working straight away. and that's what sells. You know, it's about delivering something and making sure that they see it actually working. So that was it was good meeting you, Van. So I think you bought me a coffee as well, so thank you.
I always buy my guests coffee, don't worry. And, next time I see you at a show, coffee's on me because you've been brave enough to come on the show. So, yes,
you've
everybody.
made yourself one this morning and you haven't even offered me one, Kirsty.
Well, it's a bit difficult with virtual. Yes, I've got my plain.
Well, you could still put a virtual cup across the screen. Come on.
I love that about you. So, talking about that, life on screen, because I think this is brilliant. So, you've been doing this is a two-pronged question for you. 1, TikTok, and 2, acting. Can you expand a bit on those 2 for me?
Yeah, well, life gets boring, doesn't it, Kirsty? So I challenged myself to get onto IMDB. This would have been around 5 years ago now, I think. And it was around Christmas time. And on Twitter, I've got a lot of producers, directors, various people in film. Don't know how, just one of those things. I've got people in that industry. And one of the directors had posted out, he said, I've got a part for a drunk banker. So I tweeted back, I can do a drunk banker with my eyes closed. He came back and said, yeah, we'll try to do it. Anyway, no funding from that. And he contacted me just after the Christmas period. He said, I got another one from Moody Boss. Just so happens I can do a Moody Boss very well. So that's how I got into that. So I did a little series, which is on Amazon. It's independent film. It was done with a mobile phone. It's a series called Silent Eye. And the series I was in was You Have Been Chosen. And it was about 3 scenes in this sort of little series. So that was quite interesting. I then went to a film festival in Switzerland. I handed the award over at this film festival. I met a director at the bar, chatting to him about the film industry. He wanted to change the film industry, and I wanted to change the security industry. So, adapting it. He then offered me a little part in a film he was doing, which then went to the States and won an award. Again, independent film. I had about 15 seconds. It wasn't my 15 seconds, which got the award. But again, it was about challenging myself. How can I get on IMDb? It was about 5 months from thinking about it to actually doing it, and I've got about 5 credits now, just little bits and pieces. So.
That's brilliant. And now you've expanded onto TikTok.
Well, yeah, it's again the theatrical sides. Too busy to go do anything in film. We'll get back to doing something on screen. And I like performing. I like shouting, screaming, hollering, doing things. So I thought I'd try TikTok and see if I can conquer TikTok. It's a bit of a hard beast, TikTok. So, but I'm on nearly 4,000 followers, 30,000 likes. People like something about me. I don't know. But yeah, it's just a bit of fun.
But that's the thing about you, and this is something that I've always, since I've known you, is you set your mind's eye onto something and you achieve it. And then you've achieved it and you go and set your eye on another thing. And I'm not going to use the word target. And the buzzword at the moment is goal. And I don't necessarily, some people are really goal driven. I like to think I evolve and I pick my next, a bit like you, I pick where I'm going to go next and I'm going to achieve it because I've got this drive to get there. I'm just wondering what gives you that drive, that ambition and that focus to do what you want to do.
I guess it's upbringing. You look at how you brought up as a kid. My dad worked damn hard. He was a car mechanic. Previous to being a car mechanic, he was in the knitting trade, and he was a textile technologist. Basically, how you put patterns onto clothes and everything else. He built all machines, and I feel he restricted himself because he had an opportunity to go to the States, and because we were young, he decided not to. And I think he should have probably gone. I sat down with him before he died and talked to him about this a lot. He had a great ability and he had great skill. He was on Tomorrow's World showing people how this machine worked. New machine that came out, knit machine. because he knew more than manufacturers did. And I guess I'm picking up a lot of those traits. I do know a reasonable amount about security, but all the nuts and bolts, how things work, how things come together. And what I tend to do is always look outside the box, is look at things that are different. And I drive myself because I just want to be as best as I can as a person and give back to people. So TikTok is about, there's a lot of people on there with mental health. There's a lot of people on there struggling. There's a lot of people that use that in that COVID period that need to be lifted. And I go on there just to have a bit of a laugh, sing, go, dance, whatever, just to get emotion from people, just to make them smile, like you are smiling now, Kirsty. You've got a lovely smile.
Talk about smiles. You don't smile in photographs. Now you're smiling. It took me ages to try and get you to get a smiley photograph. So yeah, I might steal one of these. Have you just frozen on me?
So yeah, I hate smiling.
And yet you've got a lovely smile.
On film, it's different. Sitting in front of a camera and taking a picture. My phone is going left, right, and centre at the moment. So people are going, I can see it now.
So you're smiling now. So I wonder, because I think we've got something similar, which I won't go into, but I know that things that happen in our childhood can fuel us on. And you've talked about your dad, and I know that the way that I'm driven, and I don't know if it's part of my schooling. My dad started work at 14. My mum worked evenings when we were growing up. So dad would come home from work, and then actually a lot of the time he would go back out to work, and mum would go to work, and then we'd have the neighbour come over and look after us. So that doesn't sound particularly great, but then mum would be back from work. So it wasn't like we were on our own, and we weren't. It was very much like we were not middle class. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich either. I can remember hiding, and mum's going to kill me for this, but I can remember her working out that one week she could pay the rent, or she could pay the milkman, or she could pay the coalman. And I remember being told to duck down and hide. And we used to hide, see who it was. No, we're paying that one today. Duck back down again. We're not paying that one this week. They're paying that one next week. Now, that is a real firm memory of my childhood, of us ducking down under the table to hide by the window so they couldn't see us, as close to the window as humanly possible. So if they looked in, they wouldn't see us.
Yeah, no, it's like childhood memories. I mean, picking up there about being, not poor, but without money at certain times. So I used to have a boiled egg for lunch, and then I think one day my mum introduced bacon. It's like, no, I want a boiled egg. Bacon was a luxury, and it was like So everyone's been through those hard times and stuff, and it's what makes you as a person. It grounds you. You appreciate everything you get. You appreciate your family. You appreciate money coming in. It's those little things which I think make people.
So who's inspired you on your journey? Because you've got this drive. I mean, you've talked about your dad, and your dad has inspired you. But is there anybody else that's really inspired you on your journey?
Inspired me. My dad's drive, my mum's empathy for life and loving life. I guess it's, I don't know, it's just inbred into me. I don't really use anyone else around me to motivate me. I'm self-motivated. I've had quite a bit of crap in the past. Excuse me, that word, I think.
It's okay,
but
don't worry.
It's about how you get yourself up. Everyone gets knocked down, and you've got to get yourself up. You're the only person who can get you out of any rut. What you've got to think about is not forget about asking for help. If there's people around you, you can't always get yourself up. So I'll ask for that little help. And a friend of mine, Bao, after a lot of aggravation and trouble, he was always there. So and you appreciate that out of your friends. And he's been my lifelong friend since I was 11. So always around. And I'd say he was one of the, not motivators, but people that just guide you and keep you on that straight and narrow path, shall we say.
that's incredible. I'm just going to put it out there because I know that some people are watching this live that for some reason any questions are not feeding through. So if you are putting your questions up, we'll come back at the end of it. But for some reason they're not feeding through this morning. So that's a shame because I was looking forward to some because I knew that would be interesting.
I might have broke that, Kirsty. I apologise for that.
No, don't apologise for that. I think it's really funny. Mind you are a security guy. Have you been in the back of my network? No, I'm joking. I am genuinely joking. So we've talked about your friend who's inspired you. I'm wondering about where in life you've had those moments where you've had aha, good ones and bad ones. Oh, we've got a message come through finally. Yay, Hayley's with us. I'm going to go straight to that. Hayley says it's great to hear this stuff that makes you Kirsty as always has a beautiful way to open the true core of the person. Hayley, thank you. Paul, over to you.
Thank you, Kirsty.
So, so where have been those moments in life where you've had those aha moments of like good bits, bad bits? Maybe it's made you pivot, because these are the things that I know I've had plenty. I've got a massively wonky career.
There's a lot of things that sort of kick you. So Mum was 2008 when she passed away. Dad 2011. Brother-in-law was 20,000. Dad was 2012. Brother-in-law was 2012. I changed career in 2012 because I had a passion of where things were going. Worked for big company, worldwide company, and I think you get lost as a number within that organisation. So I just decided to make a change. I had some personal things going on, so I had a lot of negativity for quite a big period of time. And I think it's just keeping yourself focused and making sure that you're always looking forward. People think about, when you're looking forward, it's about being here now and viewing forward rather than living in the future or rather living in the past. You've got to live for now while looking forward. And that's what I did, is just concentrate and go, right, let's just focus on what we need to do.
That's probably why we became friends, because I think you've got to live in the now, have an eye on the future, but not dream.
Yeah.
And also one of the things I've learned in life is life is full of hairpin bends. I love that kind of phrase. But you can think you're going along a road and it's really lovely and you're having a really good time. And then this bend comes up that you weren't expecting and you don't know what's around the other side. And you either take the leap of faith and just follow it, or you stand and you go, no, it's too scary to go around. And I think you're one of those people that goes round that bend as fast as you can and said, all right, bring it on.
Yeah, I do tend to put my foot down. I mean, for me, because when we met, 2014, I basically started 6 Years Global in 2012. I started that as a design company for security, looking at networks, looking at cameras, looking at how things come together. I felt there was a big gap for that because when I was a trainer for Vigilon at the time, looking at Cctv, people just didn't understand networks, didn't understand depth of field on cameras and everything else. I then got dragged into consultancy while doing that. And I worked for a software company because I was just doing things on my own. I worked for a software company called Intellico, doing number plate recognition. I worked for them from about 2014 to about 2017, about 3 years, trying to get that product out. 2017, I decided I need to sort of start making a change. So I exited out of Intellico about 2018, thinking, right, I need to concentrate on success. I had my best year in 2019, better year in 2020. COVID obviously kicked in 2020. But having a good year, thought brilliant. No one knew it'd be 2 years. So 2019, I was redoing the website and the marketing strategy. We were pushing out loads of things going on. COVID sort of kicked me in the teeth there. 2021, so many delays in contracts, so many things that delayed it. And again, you could probably give up and going, right, we can't carry on. We've got people to pay, got a load of overheads, have to start restricting back. Just kept on moving forward. At the moment, we've beaten, well, it's 1.5 times last year's turnover already, and we've got loads more things coming in. So I think it's just about keeping your head up, keeping straight, and as you say, put your foot down and get around that corner as quick as you can.
Which is just inspirational. And I remember the call we had because I had just put my LinkedIn page up and you reached out and said, let's talk. And we had a conversation, and you're like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm finding my feet. I'm not really sure yet.
Yeah.
And I think that was 2020. And now 2023, I shelved the company quite quickly, but 2023, here I am now, very clear on what I do. And I was talking about it yesterday, and they said, so what is it? Is it marketing? I went, no, it's communication. I really want to say and be very specific. It is communication strategies that I work on, no matter where they are, no matter what it is. If it's on camera, wherever we go, it's how you communicate it. That is what I focus on. But if you'd asked me that in 2020, I wouldn't have been able to say that. So I'm just wondering if there's been an evolution and a change in what you do and how you go to market.
Yeah, I suppose with predominantly consultancy in sort of 2019, 2020, people don't want to pay for advice because COVID, I'm saving money. So you move into more sort of like an FM project management role. You then start managing contracts, looking at contracts. So we've just finished one for the Department of Transport, which is quite a big contract for us. Managing that and delivering that down on the embankment. Just because I adapt, we can't just do one thing. You have to look at the business and think, right, that's dried up. What else can we do? We've got skill sets. Let's try to do something different. And I think what you did was focus on not necessarily what you're better at, but what the industry needs. You looked at that, and it is about communication. It is about how you get that message out and how you deal with people. I've got a website. It's a rubbish website. I get so many companies that go, wait, we'll do this for you. I'm not interested. I deal with people. I talk to people. And that's about the communication part. So once I talk to people, they understand who I am. I tend to get more work. Not being big-headed. It's just about giving that right approach and right delivery.
I think that's really key, because my last blog was on about the human connection, and I think it's really important in the world with automation and AI is driving technology and driving the way we do things. I think the human element, people buy from people, and yes, there is a point where 80% of your sales are done before any human interaction, but that human interaction piece is so important. I know that if Haley's listening, she will agree on this, because people need that connection. And that's why the Wise Why is the way it is. It's about us connecting, showing who you are, showing who I am, but more importantly, showing that we have worked together and that we've got that trust. And we were debating this on a call yesterday about what, and I'm going to pose it to you just because I want to, because I'm being awkward, but trust. We talk about trust in sales, and we talk about what trust is. But I said you can't have trust without respect. Because if you don't respect someone, you don't trust them. So, and once the trust is broken, I don't know if you can necessarily get it back unless you're immediately onto it and you apologize and you lay it bare with transparency. I don't know if you've got anything to add on that.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, you've got to trust people, and if it's like everything in life, if you do loads of good things, so they only remember the one bad thing that you do, and it's about your approach in dealing with that bad thing and how you try to replicate, fix it. So I think in the past, anything that has occurred, I've always taken it on the chin and gone, right, we'll fix it. We'll get that right. And I think if you have the right approach, rather than shy away from it and say, I not me, I didn't do that. Just take it on the chin and just go, look, hold your hand up. And I think that can then build the relationship back up, because they respect that, because you've taken ownership of it and you've come back and made it right.
So and it is I think you've got to own your, and my daughter said it to me yesterday. She was at gymnastics, and she came out, and we talk about magical mistakes. I've mentioned these before. So there's no such thing as a mistake or an error. It's a magical mistake, because you can learn from it or you can evolve from it. And she said, I didn't make any mistakes today. And I said, well, perfection is a moving target. You really don't need to be chasing that. But I do think you have to own it. And I said that to her, if you do make a mistake, it's okay. Own it. own it and say, I made a mistake, and then get back up and do that cartwheel, do that whatever that I don't know what she called them, some kind of thing on some kind of rings. Do that again, but own the mistake. So thank you for sharing that. The table gets to turn. This is where I get a bit worried. You get to throw some questions at me, and I get to worry that it's going to be something that I can't answer. So fill your boots.
Well, I'm going to have to really think deep on this, Kirsty. Just want to say a big shout out to Hayley, because what we picked up on then about people, she is bubbly, she's lovely. You cannot help but love the lady. So her sales approach is brilliant. She gets in there and she gets people to love her, and that's why she's a great salesperson. So
yeah, she is.
As for you, so your acting career, talk to me about what you've done in the past in acting. Because you touched on mine.
Yeah, no, I started when I was born with a speech impediment, which I'm really honest about. So I had an operation at 4.5 and had to learn to actually speak because I couldn't close any consonant sounds off. So the first time I actually spoke in public was I recited A.A. Milne's Lines and Squares at some kind of festival. Anyway, I got an award for it because everyone was blown away by it. 2 years on, I'd already been signed by an agent because I'd been in a dance show and she liked the way that I performed. So I was signed by Dorian English, and that started a whole career as a child. And so I was very, very, very busy as a child actor. So I did things like Heinz Baked Beans, Heinz Spaghetti. I was in a TV program called I Remember Nelson. I modelled for Mothercare. Yes, everybody, I have been a model. Way too short now. And it was really good fun. The list of stuff that I did was good. And there was some theatre stuff in there. So I played, I was in Macbeth, did some stuff at the National, in it was the Cottesloe at that point, theatre. So I had a really lovely career. And then I went to Arts Ed. And of course, that career stopped because Arts Ed was all about training and development. And it was really difficult, actually, from going from being the best dancer, the best performer in your local dancing school to one of, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but one of 26, because there were only 26 in the year. But these 26 children were incredibly talented. There wasn't anybody in that. To get into the school was hard. So at the age of 11, I was auditioning. So I auditioned for the Royal Ballet. I auditioned for Elmhurst. I thought I was going to be a ballerina. And on my first ballet class at Arts Ed, I looked around the room and I knew I wasn't good enough. Now, that sounds really ridiculous, doesn't it, at 11 years old to make that decision? But I knew I was not a good enough dancer and I would never be good enough. And I was the best dancer, always with distinction in my local ballet school. And I wasn't good enough. And I took the decision then that I was going to focus on drama. So it was a big decision at 11 years old. So I really got into understanding, I knew a lot about Shakespeare, but I really got into understanding the nitty gritty. I graduated arts at 19 because I stayed on and did the musical theatre course. Again, at 16, I knew that the easiest way to get my equity, but more importantly, I could keep my grant, was so that I could, because I was a scholarship kid, I knew that I could stay on the musical theatre course if I worked my butt off, because my dancing was good enough, but it wasn't the best. Yeah. So I worked my butt off to get into the musical theatre course, did the musical theatre course, and graduated knowing that I hated dancing, absolutely hated it. I hated being in the musical world. It just wasn't me. And saying that, I love singing, and I would go back to the musicals tomorrow because now I miss it. But at the time, I wanted to be this actor, and it was like this drive that, and it was in a lot of ways, it was a foolish drive because I should have stayed doing the singing and doing the bit of the dancing, but I had this drive to be a straight actor. And then I got into, after hanging up my dancing shoes from 42nd Street, I started doing the whole thing of low budget, low paid and training films. And then I got into some really amazing TV programs. So, and all three of them won BAFTAs. So I'm really proud to say that I was in My Parents Are Aliens, Basil Brush and Shoeboxy. And those are my big things. And even now, if people watch My Parents Are Aliens, they will come up to me and go, my name's not Jessica, it's Charlotte. And I'm like, oh no, oh my goodness. So I still get recognized for My Parents Are Aliens. So yeah, it's I played Miss Parker in that, and I feel really lucky that I had that. And then when I met Dennis, I wanted to buy a house. And as much as I love performing, look at me, I'm doing a podcast, here we are live, I'm presenting because I did some presenting work for Nintendo and Intel whilst I was an actor. So here I am still performing, but I couldn't buy a house. And that is the crux of the matter. One day I looked at it and went, I'm going to end up in the Actors Benevolent Home, and I really don't want that. I want to buy a house. And at that point, I was in my mid-30s. I was single after getting divorced, and I wanted a family. And I love performing, but I used to be 7.5, 8 stone. If I went over 8 stone, I was back down to working out and desperately trying to keep fit, because you had to stay in your casting type. And actually the level of anxiety that it brought, do you know what? I love it, but I also don't miss it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Would you ever go back once you have time? And
If so, I bumped into somebody, which I need to reach out to Tom Gribby, actually, who was on episode 15 of The Wise Why. So Tom, I need to go back, say hello. Yes, I would jump back. There's a role in 42nd Street that I would love to play, Dorothy Brock. There is other things. I would go back to it tomorrow in a heartbeat, because I've had enough time away that my mindset's shifted. And so I'm actually in the right mindset to go back, which probably sounds really silly, but actually the time away has made me a better actor.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Very good. Yeah, interesting path, Kirsty.
Yeah, well, I think it's these checkered paths, these winding, wonky careers. If I look back at it, goodness me, I was running teams of 20, 25 girls for Nintendo, launching Wii Fit, and I was because I'd gone through the divorce. I was pretty horrible and tough. I think about the person I was there, and I'm like, ooh. Yeah, there's a word that should be used to describe what I was, and it starts with a B. And I feel sorry for anyone that came across me at that point. It wasn't deliberate. I just was really good at what I was doing. I was brutal. And that brutality was what was needed at the time, but that brutality also what broke me. So, I remember the day that I realized I didn't want to be that person anymore. And that was a big, big shift. And then a couple of months later, I met Dennis. And now look at me.
Cool. Lovely. All but
right. Yeah, I do everyone's nutting, but that's fine. If you're going to get lots of energy coming from me or some kind of purple hair. Paul, thank you so much for sharing your story with me this morning. I really appreciate your time.
It's been an absolute privilege, Kirsty. Thank you for inviting me. So
no problem.